All I have in this world is my balls and my word, and I don't break them for no one. Do you understand?
Okay, Balls, what's on your mind?
Hey, cats, we're back again this week. It's your old buddy Balls from Ellwood. Coming back to you again this week. I got a very special show planned. I'm actually going to talk about one of my favorite things in the entire world other than the Howard Stern Show. I'm going to be talking about horror films. One of my favorite things in the world is horror films. As you know, if anybody knows me, you'll know that. I love being scared. I love, I love film in general, but most importantly, I love anything that can elicit that emotion, that feeling. It's hard to even explain. I've seen my first horror film when I was very young. I can't remember exactly what it was, but I can remember the way it made me feel. And as a fan, you spend the rest of your life, I think, chasing the dragon, I like to call it. Like, you're always looking for that next film because as time goes on, you always almost become, I could liken it to like doing a drug, which is weird. But as time goes on, you get desensitized to things, and things aren't just nearly as scary as they were before, or you become such a fan of the kind of things that, they follow all certain formula, and things get predictable over time. So it's always nice to find the little diamonds in the rough that you don't know what to expect from. Most with like any studio picture, whether you like scary movies or pretty much any genre, things have been done to death to the point where most everything's predictable nowadays. You could go in, you can see a trailer even, where I think they give way too much away nowadays. And you could practically predict the beginning, the middle, and the end of a film. And when I was growing up, it wasn't really that way. So you didn't really know what to expect. So, it's always a fascinating subject to me. I love talking to people that's into the genre. That being said, I love to ask, what's fascinating to me is like something could be scary to one person and not be to the next. And, being scared and what makes people scared and, afraid is very subjective, just like comedy almost. Like, one person finds funny, another person could think you're a fucking fucknut and or not find funny at all. But it's kind of that way in the horror genre too. Like, fear is such a subjective thing that, it's just strange. I wish I had the time to explore this, for shows. It's just an amazing thing, man. Like, you could be afraid of clowns, and other people are like, "Oh, that's silly." You could be afraid of, spiders, and other people just are like, "Whatever," But it's just such an interesting thing to me. If you look up fear in the dictionary, as a noun, it's an unpleasant emotion caused by the belief that someone or something is dangerous and likely to cause pain or a threat. So it's a mood, it's an emotion, it's a bunch of different things. And if you use fear as a verb, even that's to be afraid of something or someone is likely to be dangerous, painful, or threatening. So all these different things touch on different key elements of fear and what people find scary. So I always find it fascinating, and I would love to know everybody out there's different fears. Like, what was the first thing you remember that gave you that feeling, like that scared feeling? And to me, it's the most incredible feeling in the world. It's like you're high. I love being afraid from movies and things that make me jump or it's unexpected. I never get sick of that. So if you would like to, cats, send me in the first time you remember being scared from a film, or what your favorite scary movie is. I'd love to know. It's windychops1976@gmail.com, as you guys probably already know already. Shoot me a mail. I'd love to know some. But moving right along, the whole purpose of the show today is I think there's my whole idea was to go in and do a countdown list of what I consider to be the best horror films of all time. But I thought about it, and I think that's very redundant, and it's been done before so many times that I think all you guys could probably predict them as they come out. All your franchise films, like everybody loves Nightmare on Elm Street and Child's Play and Friday the 13th and shit like that. Halloween. I mean, everybody knows. Everybody knows what's good and what's popular. But I think what's more important, and I think what may be more important to you guys is, since you guys are all, privy to that, I would like to share the rest of my remaining time here telling you about films that I think are very, I like to call them like diamonds in the rough that you really got to kind of dig for, and that have surprised me that aren't so easily accessible. But yet again, if they're worth the digging, like, anybody could go out to your local Red Box and get your local, Happy Death Day or anything that's very easy. But, like, the things that I want to talk about and recommend, I'm going to count down, just off the top of my head, my favorite diamond in the rough movies, things that are worth digging for and that I don't think really get enough love and credit. And I would like to take the rest of the time to recommend these to you. So I'm going to start the countdown here, and we'll start it. And as we go along, I think most of these, if you want to check them out, aren't readily available on your Netflix or Hulu, shit like that. You're going to really have to do some digging and maybe look on Amazon and perhaps borrow them from certain torrent sites. But whatever, they're definitely worth checking out. So, on with the countdown. Let's get started. First up, and I'm not going to do these in any sort of order, cats, because like I would be naming you like 60, 70, 63 weird numbers. So I'm just going to tell them to you, and I can't really give you a humongous synopsis. And plus, I want you to watch the film. So I'm going to give you a little what's it's about. Try to tickle your ass with a feather, and hope you dig it and go check it out. And hopefully, I could recommend you something that you might not heard of before, and something that you'll enjoy. That's something new and fresh. So starting up, I'd like to recommend you guys a little film called May by Lucky McKee. What it's about Angela Bettis. She's kind of like this meek little, meek little pushover kind of girl, and she's afraid to stand up for herself, and she's really kind of like nobody likes her, and she's kind of, I think I like this film because I can relate to the character. You kind of relate and connect because like she's just such a really nice lady, and she's just weird, and nobody connects with her, and she has no friends, and she's alone, and she ends up falling for this dude, and of course the dude don't like her because she's like the way she is, and wackiness ensues from there. I don't want to tell you too much more, but just take my word for it. This is the kind of film where I would love to tell you more, but I do in fact believe it would be a detriment. And but there you have it. There's the first one on your list. Track that one down. Lucky McKee directed it. A little film called May with Angela Bettis. I don't think you'll be I don't think you'll be disappointed. So, but due to time, I'm going to try to speed this up here, so I can't really talk about all of them all that much, but I'm going to just keep shotgunning right into the next one here. So here's one. Actually, here's a twofer for you. I love this dude named Ty West. He started off, he did this little low budget movie called The Roost, and it was about killer bats, and he really turned my head about that, and he really made me a fan of his, and then he went and he ended up making a film that was even better, that was like a throwback to like 70s horror called House of the Devil. And it's about a girl. She takes a babysitting job in this spooky mansion, and some weird shit starts going on, and the rest is history. So if you it'd be a nice little double feature. Like if you want to delve into Ty West, he's did other things too. I always watch what he's doing. But if you want to see his best films by far, check that out for sure. And moving right along, this is a newer one, which I don't know if people have discovered yet, but Netflix original movies, man, are just kicking the fuck out of everybody. They're releasing so much cool shit, and I stumbled across this little movie called The Ritual, and the reason it's so cool is I haven't seen a really good fucking monster movie in a long fucking time, and monster movies usually they're hiding the fucking creature the whole time because of budgetary constraints, and then I'm pretty happy to pay off if even if I don't see it the whole time, if it's doing cool shit and there's cool kills, and then you finally get the payoff where you see it and it's cool looking. I can't say enough good shit about this, man. It's about these these backpackers. They're reconnecting as friends. They go out in the woods. The one breaks his ankle, so they have to try to find a shorter path to get to where they're going. And they encounter a really cool fucking monster, man. And there's some other cool. There's some other cool shit that happens. And but I mean, all in all, it's just there's nothing better than a monster movie where you actually have a great looking monster and are not afraid to show you it. And also where there's a really a cool story on top of it. It's hard to pull off. Highly recommend it. Check out Ritual. Next up, we got a movie called Veronica. I'm a big fan of this dude. This dude did the I don't know if you ever guys seen him. They did the Record movies. They're Spanish movies, and this guy's amazing. Record, I think, is the last 15 minutes of that is probably some of the most terrifying shit I've ever seen on film. It's so good. It's so suspenseful, and they kind of got a little less quality as they went along, so I'm kind of glad they ended it. But this guy, this is his follow-up movie. This is after Record. He did another movie, and this is it. It's about a girl. She's taking care of these kids, and their dad died, and she's trying to hold things down. So she does a seance, and tries to contact her dad, and then, it turns into like a haunted house picture. So, I mean, again, Netflix, they definitely got their pulse, and their ear in the pulse of, what I surely want to see lately. So, but again, speaking of Netflix, you can find this on there, I know. One of my favorite documentaries, and it's because it's such an interesting topic, is sleep paralysis. There's a documentary on there called The Nightmare, and they talk about people's different experiences with sleep paralysis, and it's shot and told like a horror movie. And the cool thing is it's like there's it's not just one story to kind of bore you. They kind of keep it going. There's like probably 4 or 5 completely different stories, but I mean the one you want to stick around for is the one with the shadow man. So pay close attention to that, because I find that shit terrifying, because I actually knew somebody that that used to be terrified by the shadow man. So like when I watch this documentary, I'm like, holy shit, maybe they weren't crazy after all. But up next, another little diamond in the rough I really love and enjoy, and I can't believe people haven't seen this or connected with it yet. I mean, this is actually readily available on video, finally, after many, many years. It's called All the Boys Love Mandy Lane. It's about it's about this girl. She's kind of popular, and everybody likes her, and then she ends up getting murdered. And it's kind of like a thriller slash murder mystery slash there's a little horror elements to it, but it's just a really clever and smart picture, and it's sad that nobody's connected with it yet. It's pretty virtually unknown, unfortunately. This next one, actually, I think on Netflix now, his new movie, The Devil's Candy's out, but the movie before that, this guy did was called The Loved Ones, and again, another movie that didn't find its audience, I don't think, but it was really, really excellent. It was about this kind of crazy girl, and she has like a backwoods dad, and it's kind of white trash, and nobody likes her at school, and so she falls in love with this dude, and all she wants to do is go to prom, and like all her dad wants to do is have this magical night where she goes to prom with her loved one, this dude, and she asks the dude, and the dude is like completely repulsed, like he doesn't want to go with her. So she drugs him and chains him to a chair and puts the prom on right in her trailer. So, that's not even giving anything away, believe it or not. It's there's so much more to it than that, and this lady, this girl in it, she's gonna be something, man, because she pulls off some acting, and she is truly scary and completely insane. So, if you guys like shit like that, definitely check that out. Also, I was talking about monster movies earlier. I love Treat Williams. He's a guilty pleasure. He's kind of a B movie dude. I'll watch pretty much anything he's in. But one of my favorite monster movies of all time is a little movie called Deep Rising with Treat Williams, and it's he's stuck out in like this. It's almost like an oil rig. And there's like these crazy fucking, like tentacle monsters after him and shit. And, but yeah, I mean, and again, wackiness ensues. So if you like yourself some Treat Williams and you like yourself some tentacle monsters, you can have the two great tastes in one, man. Check out Deep Rising for sure. And, keep it in the same vein as monster movies. I mean, does Rats count as monster movies? I mean, as a monster in a monster film? I mean, I don't know if they do or don't, but, definitely check out this old 80s movie with Peter Weller. He was the dude that played RoboCop, which is also one of my favorite movies of all time, but that's beside the point. But of unknown origin, that was an old 80s movie. It's Peter Weller. They move into this house, and it's infested with rats, and it's just, another really interesting picture. So, and, moving right along, I'd like to mention, I don't know. I mean, I don't even know if it's mainstream at this point or if it's, I don't know if it's how hard to. I would assume you could probably locate it pretty easily, but people always talk about the old Blob, but I don't think the Chuck Russell remake gets enough attention. Like, I always thought it was cool because the Blob I always thought was cool growing up because, I love monster movies and shit, but Chuck Russell took the Blob. It actually made it fucking scary, man. Like, it's not, slow and, you can't get away from it easy. This fucking Blob is, it's fast and it's quick and it'll fucking eat you. And, it's got some really good gore effects. And, Shawnee Smith when she's a teenager. And, that was her first movie, I think. But, I mean, yeah. I mean, if you want to see a really cool fucking Blob film, that's the way to go. Other than that, there's a super old movie. I think it's only available on VHS, which is a damn shame. It's called Grim Prairie Tales, and I've always been a sucker for anthology films. I love, pretty much any anthology there is, like horror anthology. I love that format. I love seeing little short stories and wraparound. But there's a really cool one called Grim Prairie Tales, and I don't want to tell you about any of the stories, but the wraparound is these, these cowboys, and they're kind of sitting around and they're firing, they're trying to tell each other, one up each other on telling them, scary stories. And, they're all pretty damn good, man. So, I mean, that might be a real tough one to track down, I know. The only time I've ever seen it's on VHS, but it's definitely worth it. Or if you could find a VHS rip on a, some sort of, movie site, please check it out for sure. It's highly at the top of my list. But I'd like to really kind of cover every base here. And you were talking about monster movies, and there was one called The Burrowers, and it's really cool, man. Like, really cool story. It's kind of like it takes place in the cowboy era too, but there's these creatures that nobody knows about, and they're like under the dirt, and they're they're getting people, and I mean, it's just again, you'd have to seek it out. Like, it came and went, nobody knows anything about it, but I think it's a damn good movie, man. So, but also, I mean, if we're covering monster movies, we should probably cover cannibal movies too. I mean, I love cannibal movies. I don't care if they're dopey. I don't care if they're good. I for sure love them no matter what. So I remember specifically an old one called Cut and Run, and it has Michael Berryman in it, the dude from Hills Have Eyes. It even has Willie Ames, TV's buddy from Charles in Charge. So if you'd like to cheese out with an old cannibal movie and you may not have never seen, definitely seek that one out. It's a fun time. So, and also, speaking of anthologies, one of my favorites, and I'm not sure how well known it is. It might be at this point, but I definitely recommend one called Tales from the Hood. It was by Rusty Cundiff, and I think it's comprised of 3 or 4 stories, and they all take place. The wraparounds, I think it's Clarence Williams the third, is a crazy mortuary owner, and these three little hood rats come in, and he's come in to rob them, and he ends up telling them stories to pass the time, to try to distract them, and each one is better than the rest, and that has one of the coolest, wickedest endings I've ever seen, man. So strap yourself in and definitely check out Tales from the Hood. A very, very good anthology. Moving on, what good Diamond in the Rough list wouldn't be made without having some cheeseball movies on there too? I mean, these movies aren't scary. They're not, they're not good, but they're definitely entertaining. So, I mean, I'll just fire these off to you at a time. But if you're looking just for a fun night and you don't want to be too serious and you don't want nothing too suspenseful or scary, and you just want to kind of laugh, like these are to the point where it's just a fun time. I mean, there's a movie called Satan's Little Helper. I always think that's pretty funny. It's about this kid, and he's trick or treating, and he ends up meeting like this goblin, and he goes around with them, and they do kind of like bad deeds, and it's kind of a horror comedy. I always think it's pretty funny. I met the dude that does it. He did a movie called Just Before Dawn, and I really liked his work, and I met him, and he was kind of a big dick licker, but I mean, I still enjoy his work, so I mean, I definitely check it out, but yeah, I just don't recommend meeting him in person. So another fun one I like to recommend is Eddie Deason, the nerd from Greece. It's called Beverly Hills Vamp. It's Eddie Deason as a vampire hunter. Him and his buddies can't get laid, so they go to like a brothel, and it happens to be all vampires, and his buddies disappear, so then he goes back and tries to fight the vampires as only Eddie Deason can. So that's like I said, it's a goofy one, but it's actually a lot of fun, and it's got some really shitty one-liners that make me laugh. I mean, but I mean, I think the be-all, end-all of goofy, shitty, bad movies was my absolute favorite is Psycho Cop 2, aka Psycho Cop Returns. They made the first one, and it was real serious, and it wasn't really all that good. But then they did a sequel, and he's a satanic cop, and he's terrorizing a bachelor party that's going on after hours, and there's all kinds of decent gore effects, and Psycho Cop is just hysterical, man. Like, he does he says all kinds of stupid shit that makes me laugh, and he throws a bitch off a fucking building, and he's like, well, I guess since it's your first offense, I could just let you go, just says shit like that, but I don't want to give it all away. But Psycho, and it even has Julie Strain in it from, I think she was it Penthouse or Playboy fame? So, yeah, definitely seek that out. There's a really good Blu-ray by Vinegar Syndrome uncut. I mean, for the longest time, they had a truncated, like fucking 20 minutes was missing, on DVD, and then they finally released this Blu-ray, and make sure you get that, because that's where you're going to see all the cool gore effects, and there's a lot of funny sight gags and shit, and there's a lot of nudity you're going to miss if you get the shitty DVD. So, with that being said, another movie I think is cool that is kind of in the same vein as Spookies. A lot of people hasn't heard of Spookies, but it's about this, kind of like this crazy, old dude in a mansion, and these kids come there to party, and he's trying to kill them off so he could use their vitality to bring his wife back to life. And again, it's just so goofy and strange, and like unlike you'd ever really seen. Only like an 80s movie could pull this one off. It's just you got to definitely check it out. Spookies is a blast. So, but moving back into things that are rare. Like, there's a movie, and I try to tell everybody about it. Man, nobody's heard of it, but it's called Sleep Stalker, Last Rites of the Sandman. I don't even know how you track it down, but it's really cool. Like for a low budget film, they pull off a lot of creepy, cool effects. Like the Sandman looks cool. Like the effects are cool. They do a lot of conventional effects, which I like. I really hate CGI effects. I'm so spoiled from growing up in the on 70s 80s horror. Like I hate seeing like whenever they do shit like that. But yeah, another great flick I would like you guys to check out is a little known flick called Colobus. It's I don't even know how to describe it. I would describe it like these people are stuck in a house and there's traps and things, and it's just it's really 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 cool. So I don't want to again I don't want to tell you too much about these because it might deter you from wanting to see them. But one of my all-time favorites when I was a kid. And, well, not so much a kid, but later on. It was a limited release when it came out. I had a hard time going to the theater to see it. On video, it was virtually unheard of. It's finally starting to get a little love. I know they just brought out a really cool Blu-ray, which I picked up. It's a movie called Popcorn. Back in the day, it was nobody ever really heard of it, but really cool thing. I love movies that take place like during like all night film festivals, like horror movie festivals. This takes place in an all night horror festival. There was a dude that got burned down in a theater called The Possessor, and he's coming back and knocking people off. But again, there's more to that. It's a really cool flick. Definitely give it a chance. It's got some cool twists and cool kills, and it's funny when it has to be, and it's scary when it has to be. But unheard of gem, and it's probably amongst one of the coolest movies on this list here. So definitely track down Popcorn. I think it's from the early '90s. But since we're talking about crazy stuff, I don't know if it's classified more so much of a horror film, but it's definitely a diamond in the rough. It's something you've never seen before. A little movie called Story of Ricky or Ricky O. Let me explain. Ricky O's a bad motherfucker. They kill his girlfriend. They throw him in this maximum security prison, and he has like unheard of inhuman strength. So they got him all locked down. And if you ever seen the Daily Show back in the day with Craig Kilborn, when he would do the 5 questions, they'd show the guy crushing their head. That was actually from this film. So. A lot of crazy effects, a lot of crazy shit, man. Like for example, he gets in a sword fight with this dude, and they cut the tendons in his arm, so he reaches in with his teeth and reties his tendons. And yeah, Ricky O's a bad motherfucker. He's ready to fight again. So if that at all sounds like that kind of film intrigues you, you can't get better than Story of Ricky. It's craziness. I think it was based on a manga, but it's just like manga come to life. Crazy gore effects. Trust me, you'll remember 2 things: your life before Story Ricky, and your life afterwards for sure. So also that I'd like to get into like some foreign films here too. I love foreign movies. I love Japanese, Korean, French. They're doing really good horror films now, and a lot of these get thrown by the wayside because people or they're not readily available. So what I think is really cool, man, and they really pull off a really cool concept. There's lots of cool kills. There's an incredible bus scene that makes my asshole pucker. It's a foreign. I think it's either Korean or Japanese. It's a movie called Scared, and it's got a cool concept, cool kills, great production value. So yeah, check it out. It's definitely on the list. And then there's another cool. It's in 3D. There's another cool one. It takes place at a haunted amusement park called the Park. I've always been a sucker for 3D horror films. There used to be a film when I was growing up called The Mask, and you get a stop and go and give you the 3D glasses, and then you wear them. And I've always been in love with 3D horror films, and it's cool. Like I'm a sucker for anything in an abandoned amusement park too, so it doesn't take much. I'm a cheap date, so. But and the last on my foreign list here for now is a movie called Le Pacte des Loups. Over here it's called Brotherhood of the Wolf. This is like a genre-bending movie. I mean, it's one part horror film, one part action movie, one part karate film, one part thriller, and it's just a powerhouse of a film, man. Like I can't even tell you about it. It's that fucking cool. Just rent or find Brotherhood of the Wolf for sure. And since we're talking about wolves, one of my favorite, almost unheard of werewolf movies is this little movie called Bad Moon. I don't know how this movie doesn't get more love or credit, or it's not heard of. It's just a incredible werewolf film, which I don't really. It's not really I don't really know very many that I enjoy. Like, that's probably one of my least favorite things about the genre, and this one's really good, man. I consider Ginger Snaps trilogy to be good. I like Dog Soldiers. And Bad Moon, I think, is amongst the best. So if you're looking, like in American Werewolf in London, of course, I mean, everyone's going to name that. But if you're looking for a really good, under-the-radar werewolf film, I don't think in Silver Bullet. I mean, but under the radar, this is the best diamond in the rough werewolf film you're probably going to see. But if you're looking for some slashers, I don't think you need to look any further than Vinegar Syndrome just put out a Blu-ray, but there was a really good DVD not too long ago of an old, I think it's 70s movie, and it's called Madman. And the whole premise is, I don't know if you would call it a knockoff, it's a slasher for sure, but there was this big hillbilly fucker named Madman Mars, and they try to hang him, but he's such a bad motherfucker they can't kill him. So he eventually dies, or does he? So these dumb kids are out, camping, and I think you know the rest. So, but enjoy this film, man. It's got the weirdest named kid I've ever seen. There's a kid named after toilet paper. His name's TP. Madman Mars has just got he's a big fucking hillbilly fucker. He's nuts. He looks cool. He's spooky. There's just a really cool fucking, if you like slashers, definitely check it out. And coming from that same that same era, like, there's so many good films that, like The Burning. I mean, if you haven't seen The Burning, we're talking about slasher films. Again, it even has Jason Alexander in it from when he was from Seinfeld when he was younger, and very good slasher film. If you're looking for that slasher, look no further than The Burning too. The excellent film. And I'm trying to think, man. When I was a kid, I used to rent movies, and then we'd record them, and I would watch the fuck out of these things, man, and like over and over and over, hundreds of times. And this next movie got so much play because, like, it would always spook the fuck out of me. Like Creepy Castle, Guy Rolfe's in it. You got old people. You got a fucking Punch and Judy doll, which I think is fucking creepy. And the movie's called Stuart Gordon's Dolls. These people get stranded overnight, and they got to stay at this creepy castle, and it's all pretty much killer dolls. And they're like, I find porcelain and Cupid dolls and all that shit to be very freaky and cool effects. It's almost kind of like an adult nursery, like a fairy tale. So I mean, it's just a really, really special movie. I still enjoy it to this day. I seen it recently, and it's still got the goods, man. So, and my buddy a long time ago, Zane, he turned me on to this one. It's an old movie called Curse of the Blue Lights, and it's just one of those things, like, if you there's like this really weird, creature dude in it, and when you're watching it, you're like spending most of the time going, what the fuck? You're like, what am I watching? But like, it sticks with you, man. Like, I really definitely think I don't really love remakes, but like this movie almost seems like it would really kind of benefit from one because it's extremely low budget, but it's extremely cool. They really pull off some cool ideas. Like that's what impresses me the most, man. Like, if you can have a really minuscule budget, and I think you try harder, and that's just the way to go. So. And horror comedies, again, when I was a kid, I loved this movie called Blood Diner, and it was like a throwback to old Herschel Gordon Lewis movies, like, Blood Feast and 2000 Maniacs and that kind of shit. And It's really cool. It's fun. It's just dopey. I mean, if you're looking for a funny dopey movie, these two brothers, they have a restaurant. It's failing. They're gonna get a business. So then they end up deciding, you know, they start worshiping Shitar, and end up killing people and putting it in the food, and overnight they become like the biggest restaurant in town. And well, that's all I'm gonna tell you. You should check out Blood Diner if you want to know the rest. And we were talking earlier about monster movies, and one of the coolest ones I could think of is just how they look wise. Is there's an old movie called The Deadly Spawn, and I think about it now and then. Like you see, like if you think of a cool monsters, like that's one of the first thing that pops in my head. The creature designs are cool, for what they were, and coming right up next to that, there was an old movie called The Brain. I think that's only available on VHS. But it was like a telepathic brain, and it was, I can't remember what it was doing. It was trying to go through the TV waves or something and mind control people, but it was a really fucking strange, weird, incredible movie, and I think the only way you could get it's VHS, I do believe, or Laserdisc, but, yeah, if you can, check that one out, because that's definitely interesting. And, newer stuff. I like this movie called Dead Birds. I don't know if you guys have heard of that. That was kind of like that was a really modern kind of spooky movie. I love these old movies. They're called the Blind Dead trilogy, and they're about like these Knights Templar, and they end up getting their eyes burnt out, and they're like damned, and they wear these cloaks, and they're like skeletons, and they can only hear your heartbeat like when you're afraid, and that's how they know to come after you. And there was a series of movies. I think it was Tombs of the Blind Dead. I think there was The Ghost Galleon. There was Return of the Blind Dead, and I'm sure that there might even have been another one. But those are always good fun to me, man. Like they look cool. It's just a lot of fun. And then that being said, innovative things I think of that like people have pulled off with a little budget and still ring home to me. There was a little movie called Splinter. I think it was, I'm not sure, I think it was from the, was it 2000, mid-2000s? But it's really neat, man. Like, there's like this fucking weird thing that crashes, and then everything starts, it's a monster movie, and it starts growing, like, whatever it touches, it starts growing like these like splintery, spiny things, and it's got some twists and turns, surprises, and like it keeps you on the edge of your seat, and just for all the conventional effects that are used and monster effects, for a little movie, man, it's got some big effects. So if that's what you're looking for, I definitely would check that out for sure. And if you're looking for something a little more reality based, like I would recommend a movie called Timber Falls. Like it's about this couple. They just, they go on their honeymoon and they go out camping, and then they get terrorized by like these asshole teenagers, and like it builds up, and yeah, it's just it's a very suspenseful movie, man. Like it had me really on the edge of my seat, because like you never know what's gonna happen next. Like there's and the best part about it is whenever there's really good character development, and you're rooting for them to survive. Like normally in a slasher movie, the killer is the anti-hero, and you're kind of just looking for a cool kill. Like in this kind of slasher movie, you're like, you can tell it's well written, because like you really want these people to legitimately survive, and you're rooting for them. And but yeah, please check out Timber Falls. Back to goofy ones. There was this one when I was younger. It was a Scott Valentine of fucking Family Ties. It was Mallory's boyfriend. And it's an anthology. It has like a Little Red Riding Hood in it, and a bunch of other dopey stories. But they like kind of do updates of like the Big Bad, Three Bears and Big Bad Wolf and all that shit. But like it's like an adult take on it. And the effects are shitty. A lot of it's really shitty, but it's got heart, and it's kind of funny. But it's called Dead Time Stories, and I've always had as shitty as a movie as it is. I've always had a little special place in my heart for it. I don't know if it's just nostalgia, but it's I think it is definitely available on Blu-ray now because I picked the Blu-ray up. A buddy of mine actually got it for me, which was really nice. But thinking back, I mean, if you're looking for something, I know I have a stepdaughter. I might as well say because I consider her my stepdaughter already, but. She's super kind of getting into scary movies. We started on Goosebumps, and the rest is history, man. Like, she's on a mad terror. She loves watching all this shit with me, and so if you want something fun, you can watch like with your family if they're not so much into the genre itself, and it's kind of lighthearted. There's a really cool flick called The Willies, and it's it's like a family horror anthology, and it's kind of dopey and goofy, but some of it's pretty cool too. So, and I think Sean Astin's in it when he was a kid, and it's just a lot of fun. But I don't know if that's available. I think that's available on DVD now, I believe, and it's definitely in VHS. I'm not sure about Blu-ray, but I don't think that one's going to be too tough to find. But again, it's a lot of fun. So, and if you like movies with like lots of cool monsters. Like, you can't, there's like tons to choose from in this one. Like, it's an old movie I like called Neon Maniacs. Again, my buddy when I was younger, he's super into this. He's a indie horror film director. He turned me on to a lot of this stuff. Like, I was always in the horror, like even when I was a kid. And I kind of got into this law where I didn't think there was, too much coming out. And then once I met him, he turned me on to all these things, much like I hope I can to you guys. And, it just relit my my passion and relit my thirst for all these movies. So hopefully this does the same. Yeah, if you're looking for another cool slasher, there's a little movie called Lover's Lane. That's virtually unheard of, and Anna Faris is in it, like from Scary Movie, which I think she was really super young in. But yeah, there's a simple premise. There's a killer going around like Lover's Lane with like this hook hand, and he's killing kids that are up there trying to do the deed. So, but again, for a movie of this caliber, I thought it was going to be kind of tame and dopey. And there's actually some really cool kills with the hook, and it's suspenseful at points. And I mean, Anna Faris is pretty cool, and yeah, it just the characters are really well written, and you want them to live, and it's got a unique little twist. So again, if you want to check out that one might be pretty tough to find, but I don't know if the DVD's even in print anymore. But again, you do enough digging, you could probably find all this shit. So, and growing up, I was always a fan of John Ritter. He was Jack Tripper on Three's Company, and he was in Skin Deep and all kinds of different movies. I always found him to be a really funny, he just seemed like a really nice dude, and it was nice to see him do a horror anthology. And again, it was really excellent. I think it was a TV movie. I'm not sure what it was on, but all three stories are cool. He's the wraparound. He's a dude. He's a real estate agent, and he has a certain amount of time to sell this house. And apparently, if he doesn't, I don't want to tell you what happens, but he's definitely under pressure to sell this house. And once everybody finds out what happens in the house, they don't want to buy it because always there's some fucked up shit that happens in it. And that kind of is the harbinger for going into each story. But again, it's called Terror Tract. That one I believe is on DVD with a double disc of Cherry Falls, and I don't know if it's still in print, but if you could locate it, again, that's a really, really cool flick, too. And at the risk of sounding like I'm prattling on, folks, I hate for this to sound like I'm just going on a mad terror, but, I mean, the whole purpose of this show is I want you guys to go and seek out some hard-to-find flicks. So, I mean, I hope it's not boring for you guys. I hope it's not drowning out. I mean, I wish I could find a way to make it a little more entertaining, but hopefully you'll thank me once you find something that you would have never normally seen before. So, moving on, I'd like to recommend a little movie. There was an early '80s movie called The Boogans. It's about these underground creatures. They're near they're near a silver mine, and they're terrorizing these people in a cabin. And I mean, it's just fun to say. Go try to find the boogans. I mean, but the creatures are kind of goofy looking, but it has a certain charm. Like for a shitty movie, a little monster movie, it actually has some decent dialogue and it has heart, and it's got its own little special charm. So track that down. That being said, maybe a newer one. Like, I don't know why this wasn't, he didn't become like the new franchise dude like I thought he would. But there's two of them. The first one I think is a little better though, but they're called Laid to Rest, and they introduce, I thought it's gonna be horror's new, franchise villain. His name's Chrome Skull. He's got this crazy skull mask and a video camera like adhered to his shoulders, so like he could see whenever he kills somebody, and they could see him in the mask, and you can see it on the videotape. But it's got a lot of really cool inventive kills, a lot of twists, and I think Chrome Skull is just a cool looking dude, man. So continuing on the path of 80s movies that I love, that are kind of hidden gems. There's a movie called Chopping Mall. I love this. I used to play it on HBO all the time. I know for sure they just released a Blu-ray of this, and it's still readily available on DVD. But it's cool, man. They try to make these security robots like to protect the mall, and they fuck up, and then they're trying to kill everybody that's in the mall. Of course, there's these dumb kids partying in the mall after hours and shouldn't be there, and the killbots, I think is what they called them. Want to clean up shop. So definitely check that out. Another goofy movie. I really like this dude. His name's Larry Cohen. One of the earliest movies I remember seeing of his is called The Stuff. And they find like this fucking, I think it's a meteor or some shit, but like for some reason they end up taking it to like a food corporation, and it ends up being like the most delicious shit in the world. It's like a yogurt kind of thing, and it catches on. It's like it's almost like a social commentary too, I think, on that kind of thing. But it's everybody starts eating it and buying it, and then it turns out like it's after you eat it, the stuff starts eating you, and it's like got some really crazy effects whenever it's starting to eat people. And it's just a very, very interesting, different kind of flick for sure. It still stands out to my mind, as a 41-year-old dude, from what I've seen it as a kid. So, but that being said, believe it or not, we're almost running out of time, so I gotta speed this list up here so I could get through it all. If you can only watch one zombie chicken musical this year, I highly recommend you seek out Troma's Poultrygeist. It's always been a favorite of mine, and I'm pretty sure that's as unheard of as you get. It's a zombie chicken musical. You will never forget it. It's really, really funny. It really has a lot of cool effects, and I've been a Troma fan since I was a kid. And I'm looking forward to getting to see Uncle Lloyd again here shortly. I've met him several times and hung out with him. Just an incredible dude. I've always loved Troma and the Toxic Avenger and all that. But this is definitely amongst their best. I mean, it's and the funny part about it is, a little fact, is like everybody in the movie is named after certain fast food restaurants, and the main characters are Arby and Wendy, and I mean there's Carl Jr. and you get the drift. But yeah, it's the songs are you wouldn't think a zombie chicken musical has catchy, clever songs. There's great gore effects, like 5-cent gore effects, but all in all, it makes a zombie chicken musical with that's just a lot of fun to watch and has tons of heart. So Poltergeist, Night of the Chicken Dead, I highly recommend that one, believe it or not. But wrapping up the list here, I would have to say there was an old shitty 80s movie. I think it was with Edward Furlong. Maybe it was 90s, but they were trying to bank off like the Freddy Krueger at the time. They wanted to try to invent a villain. His name was the Trickster, and it had to revolve around this like demented video game, and it was called Brain Scan. I always thought that was kind of a interesting movie, and not too many people have ever got to see that. But yeah, if you want to see kind of like a weird video game movie with a weird villain, and Edward Furlong from Terminator 2, by all means, track down Brain Scan. I think that's actually on DVD. I'm not sure, but I'm sure it shouldn't be too hard to nail a copy of that one. But Dead Breakfast, that was a newer one I kind of enjoyed. That's got a couple little musical numbers in it, but these people are going into like a bed and breakfast kind of place, and it ends up turning into like a zombie movie. But I remember it being pretty funny as well. So I mean, and here's one I think it just finally released on DVD, but for the longest time it was unavailable, and I don't know if it was a rights thing or it was just so goddamn creepy. It's like almost like a shot like a real like news documentary, and it was about a serial killer. It's called the Poughkeepsie tapes, and it's shot real creepy. It's like they find the killer's tapes. He was making tapes all the years of all his different victims on VHS, and you're seeing drips and drabs of it, but like it's so damn creepy. And he dresses in all these different weird costumes, and he's like a theater guy, and it's just one of those movies that you have to take you want to scour yourself off afterwards because it's just so creepy. But I mean, if that's what you're looking for, see no further. And I'll leave you with a couple goofy ones, before we leave. But like there was a interesting one. I think Morgan Spurlock's in it. The dude that did the documentary about McDonald's. He's actually, I think he makes a cameo in it. But it's called Drive Through. And it's about a killer clown, and I'm pretty much a sucker for any of that. So I think there was a movie called Amusement. It was an anthology movie, and I think that clown story and that's really terrifying. But yeah, I'm a sucker for any killer clown. Sucker for here's a good one. Back in the 80s, there was a movie called Scarecrows, and it's about these robbers, and they're trying to get away. They come across this abandoned farmhouse, and there's all these creepy ass fucking scarecrows, and they land smack dab in the middle of this farmhouse, and they start to get attacked, and they freaked out by these fucking scarecrows. And I tell you what, I watch it every Halloween, man. They're definitely spooky, so check that one out. That's on DVD. I don't know if it's still in print or if it's very expensive, but for sure, it's highly recommended from Balls, man. Like, I know we're getting pressed for time here, but I'll leave you with a couple more. One of the weirdest I think I've ever seen, and apparently this movie was like shelved or not released for I think 2 decades, and somebody actually got the rights. They released it. It's called Deathbed: The Bed That Eats. Here's the whole premise. It's so fucking weird. There's like a warlock. He's in a bed, like his soul's in the bed. There's a dude. He's trapped in a picture from the warlock. He can't get out. Like he narrates the whole film. And travelers come by. They fuck in the bed, and the bed eats them. So I mean, that's I hope I didn't ruin the magic for you, but it's definitely such a weird picture that you sort of want to see it. There's a couple weird Blackley comic moments. But yeah, all in all, it's just so goddamn strange. It's definitely worth checking out. Just to see a monster movie where the bed's a monster, and it's and it's so fucked up. It's actually kind of gross. Like it ingests them and has like this stomach acid under the sheets, and it's it's unlike anything you ever heard. So if you want a crazy ass movie where you're gonna see people getting eaten by a bed, that's the way to go. I like this movie called Grave Dancers. There used to be these things, and I used to like them. They were called, After Dark's Horror Film Festival, 8 films to die for. And for a while, every year, they'd release 8 new movies. And, some would be okay, some would be shitty, and most of them were pretty cool. And this was definitely one of the cooler ones. It was called Grave Dancers, and it was, it was more or less like, if you went out and you danced on these people's graves, they would come after you, and they were like these evil specters, and again, I don't want to really embellish too much, but there's definitely a story to it, and there's way more to it than that. So definitely check that out. For definitely some really cool ghost effects, like they look creepy, and it's just a really cool kind of fun, spooky, almost like you just fun like you're going through the haunted mansion fun at Disney. It was definitely worth checking out for sure. But I mean, that's that's really the part where I'm going to be done here, cats. Like, I really hope you enjoyed this list. I hope you go. I hope you find through all this rambling and all these suggestions, I hope you at least come up with something, that you might have never seen before. My passion, like I said, is horror. I love scary films. I love digging for films that you can't really see. It's like a treasure. Like you hit the X on the map, on the treasure map. So, again, if you have any that I haven't named here, I still have a ton. I probably could do 20 shows, but if you have any recommendations for me, I would love to hear them. I'm always looking for new things to watch, so please hit me up at wendychops1976@gmail.com. Other than that, give me some feedback. If you guys do happen to seek any of these out and you love them, you hate them, or anywhere in between, let me know. Other than that, I got a lot coming up here. Just future events. I'm going to be going to Horrorhound Weekend, coming up here in a few weeks. I'm going to try to talk to some people there and, get some content for the show here and the network. And, after that, on the horizon, I definitely I'm going to Steel City Con to meet Alice Cooper, Gary Busey, and a bunch of other people. My buddy Speech Impediment Man is coming down and coming with me, so that should be a hoot. We're going to try to interview some people there, and so look forward to that. That's not going to be until April, like mid-April. So, and other than that, I'm going to try to get out and see the new Strangers movie. I like the first one. That sequel, Strangers 2, Strangers Pray at Night, is coming out this weekend. I'm going to hopefully make it out, and if I do, I will definitely have a full review for you guys. And hopefully it doesn't suck, man. I thought the first one was pretty spooky. It definitely had some issues, but overall it was kind of a cool flick, I thought. But yeah, other than that, I've just been playing, trying to find some new, 8-bit Nintendo style games to play. My buddy recommended me this one called Axiom Urge. I'm going to end up getting that and trying that out. And I love old 8-bit Nintendo side scrollers. So if any of you guys can recommend any of those, shoot me an email too. So other than that, I hope you guys, find something to watch. I got the whole, high-pitch Eric speech impediment fight coming up in July. I'm actually going to be speech impediment man. I'll be in his ring. I'll be in his corner. So we're going to be going to Chicago, and I think it's July 23rd, I believe. I'll have to check and make sure, but that's going to be put on by Gonzo Podcast Network here. So, check that out. Put that on your calendar. That's going to be an interesting thing for sure. And, other than that, anything else comes out, I will see you cats next week. Peace and love. Till next time, this is Balls from Ellwood.
Audio Jungle.